Hello, this is Lisalee and welcome to my channel. So today's pick a card reading is what is your true love story? And we're going to have three groups. Timestamps will be below. Group number 1 is the yellow book. Group number 2 is the purple book. Group number 3 is the blue book. So if you want to take a moment and just meditate on these, we're going to start in just a moment. Okay, group number 1, for those of you that chose the yellow book with the rose on it, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to speed up the shuffle. Okay, group number 1, this is beautiful. I love your true love story. I never read from the book, like always with the oracle cards, I just interpret them. Like that's how I usually do it. But I feel like I have to read this. So let me grab the book, and I actually do have the page here because I stopped to get it. But this is fascinating to me, and it's sort of captivating me in terms of the whole story of your true love story. And it starts with the bardo, and I'm actually going to read it. It's the liminal, the in-between, the transition. So here we go. It is said that the bardo is a place between this life and the next, a liminal realm through which souls pass. Envisioning this inherently mysterious space creates the potential for us to rise above the concerns of this world and see our relationships through a cosmic and timeless lens. We may receive messages from those who are no longer with us or see visions of lives not yet lived. In the bardo, there is potential to forgive the unforgivable, to say the unsaid, to see the unseen, to love the unloved, to let go of all the things that cause us pain. The bardo suspends us in its spaciousness for just long enough to open us to higher wisdom. Its energy does not belong to the earth as we know it, but rather to the cosmic network of which we are a single thread. I just thought that was so beautiful, because that is the energy that wherein this, like, where this love is born. It's spiritual. It's in this in-between liminal space. And with Eros and the fault line, what I'm seeing is a really true, beautiful, like sensual even is like coming through here. Not just sensual, but like there's something so tender about this love and so pure in its like emotional resonance. It's kind of like you feel this love more than you see it. Like it's more, it is more spiritual, it is more emotional, and it is less tactile and like visual. That's not to say that you don't see or touch each other, you do, but there's a way in which this love like has a very ethereal quality, and it comes to you on the other side of a major breakthrough, where you're at this point where you're afraid, you know. It's like the fault line is a card about standing on the ice and like sort of watching it crack and wondering like what is going to happen. Am I going to sink? Am I going to fall through? Like it's basically that moment when everything starts to break down and you realize things aren't the way you thought they would be, or you know, life isn't as you expected. Things just didn't happen the way that you had projected. Like there's all sorts of ways in which the fault line disrupts our ability to lie to ourselves or to live in an uncomfortable fiction that is not in alignment with who we're supposed to be. And so this love is in response to, I want to say, almost a giving up. And so not even a giving up, Spirit is kind of correcting me. It's like a giving in, it's like a surrender is what I'm being told. And so where does this all start? How does this all happen? Like, how does the story unfold? Let me just move this out of the way. I've got an insufficiently small table here, but let's see. Okay. Well, the phase that you're in, you know, this came up in the shadow attribute, which I'm going to read: manipulating or abusing students, teaching negative traits and destructive skills. You know, and the upright with the light attribute, it's an ability to communicate knowledge, experience, skill, or wisdom. So the way in which this finds you is really struggling with getting people to see things in a way that, like, it's hard for you to like, what is the Spirit? How do I even explain it? You're kind of broken open. because what you've been taught in life, what you've experienced is like the information that came in, that shaped you, that helped you understand who you were. You know, all of the influences, it's like you're looking at all of these influences that were around you and thinking like, I was taught wrong. and it leaves you in kind of like a lost place. But, you know, the beautiful thing about this love is that it's a homecoming. It's born of, it's a manifestation that comes from your desire, your longing for home, belonging. This person is a part of your soul family in like a very intense and specific way. There have been lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes that you're meeting within this liminal space. Is interesting. We're going to pull more cards on that as we get closer to digging in, like particularly into the particulars. So with the authority card here, the frequency of authority reminds us that true authority is powerful, directed, and realized, yet receptive, wise, and loving. It's a safe love. You know, it's a love that is powerful, but not overpowering. That's not to say that it isn't exciting and it isn't like a whirlwind of fun. Like it's all of that marshmallow fluff of the heart in the beginning, honeymoon phases, that's all there. But this has the resonance of having it's been like earned with like blood, sweat, tears, and experience, so that when you're experiencing this love, it's not wishy-washy, it's not like questionable. Like it has the authority of like having earned its, you know, you earn a level of this is really hard to explain suddenly. Let me get a hold of my tongue, because the channel is coming through in a way where I'm like, wait a minute, I gotta catch up. There's a weight to it. There's a planted, like grounded, stable quality. There's a trustworthy quality to this love that is actually sort of surprising to you. Now, these cards are a little bit scandalous, so if I don't hold this, it's a little pornographic. And the reason that I'm using them is with love readings, they're just like incredibly good in terms of bringing the information in like detailed, nuanced ways. But I'm not gonna, but I'll try to hold up, to the extent that I can hold up cards, I will, but with this particular deck, it's a little tricky. So with the Nine of Swords in reverse and the Nine of Cups also in reverse, there's a dizzying quality to the way that this sort of like arrives at your doorstep. You know, it comes as a gift, but it's not the kind of gift that you would recognize right away as being like, oh my gosh, like this is, thank you. You know, like it's more like you're looking at this person who has something to offer you and you're saying, you know, because I'm very drawn, both of these have a black cat, right? Both of these cards. And so there's a sense in which when this comes towards you, it's not immediately recognizable as this is this positive wish fulfillment. It is your wish fulfillment, but it arrives in kind of a strange package. This person brings you an understanding of your value and your worth, that you're, it's like, it's an angle, it's a perspective, it's a mirror, like what do you call it? Not so much a mirroring, it's a reflecting back to you, way that they see you. It's unique. It strikes you as unique. It feels unique. It doesn't feel particularly typical, but there's the quality of like, you know, this comes to you like a mystery. It almost comes to you like a mystery, and it unfolds kind of slowly. And then you're like, oh wait, this is really beautiful. What this person like has to offer me is something that they cultivated, that they created, a way in which they like, they're very, this is a unique individual, extraordinarily unique. This is a person with a foot in both worlds, which is fascinating to me. We've got the Nine of Pentacles, and we also have the King of Swords in reverse. You're very comfortable at this point in, you know, being in your independent, like accomplished space. You've gotten to the point where, you know, this relationship doesn't roll up on you as a solution to a problem. You're very established when this relationship comes along. You don't need to prove yourself. You know, your thinking is clear, and you don't need to necessarily communicate everything that comes through your mind. There's not a need to be understood. You are standing in a position of, I know who I am. I've achieved everything that I'm going to achieve in the way of stability and like you know, meeting my goals and being really happy with where my life is, being happy with the way that I'm perceived and seen, like you're held in high regard, you're doing well financially. But you're also a little bit closed off. You've also kind of stopped communicating to an extensive degree. It's a point of strength in some senses, but it's also makes it harder for you to connect. You know, so when you do go to connect with others, there's a way in which it's like, there's a feeling of like, I've almost forgotten how to do this without the butterflies. And so when you meet this person, they kind of, there's a sense in which they're trying to coax you. There's a coaxing quality. I'll get more on that in just a second. But with the Six of Wands in reverse and the Justice in reverse, that's interesting. It's interesting to me that you perceive this somehow as a loss, and I'm going to find out why in just a little bit. I'm not going to dive right into that without more clarification. With the Ace of Swords in reverse and the Two of Pentacles in reverse, there's some blocks here that give way to a completely new chapter. So you are like in this space and time. And this is a timeless reading, but my sense is this isn't terribly far out. There's really there's a giving up that happened here, and it seems like there was a relationship that colored your perspective of all relationships, so that with this, you know, like something about former relationships just not being right, not taking off in the right way, and having a quality of being really unfair and really unjust, and feeling like, well, relationships are a waste of time. You know, this kind of pursuit is just, you know, senseless. You know, there's a quality of defeat to your perspective when you meet this person that has you not even trying to balance the two elements of your life, where it's like, you know, trying to balance like work and ambition with love. Like you're done. You're like, I'm not balancing love with anything. Love's just gonna have to find me. And that's actually a really good perspective because it's what calls it in. But you do have this like need to break through. That's what this fault line is all about. You know, in order for this access to, in order for you to have this kind of access, wow, this is interesting. I gotta feel this. This person loves you so much. It's almost painful for me to feel this. It's like, it's not, there's no painfulness to it, but it's just like such an intensity to the love that they have for you. It kind of breaks you open. And so, you were coming from this perspective of like, I'm not having it. I'm focusing on my stuff. I'm not giving myself over to like dreamy hope. You know, like there's this closed off quality, which is why the breakthrough is required. Also, you know, with the World here and the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, there's a way in which, for some of you, you're leaving a committed relationship that you like invested heavily in and found your stability in to an extent. For others of you, you give up on the role. You give up on having the relationship be the kind of thing that is manifested around roles. And I'm hearing this phrase. Let me see if I can catch this. What is that? Yeah, like, so there's a, I don't know, this is just coming through as something that I've thought about before, but yeah, like I see somebody addressing another person and saying, and this person's like an older, you know, like an elder, an ancestor, something like that. It's just like, it's an address that's like pointed at like a structure, like a family structure even, that says, basically like you turn things around for yourself, where you're like, I'm happy with my life, and what other people feel in the way of sad that I didn't meet the expectations of what they thought my life should be, like you abandoned this, and in abandoning that, you're able to really find you know, like in abandoning trying to meet the expectations that others have of the happy life that they would like you to have, instead of just looking for your happy life, you really sort of just start looking for your happy life, and you leave that role. If that role was like prescribed to you, you're like, I'm done. I'm going to just do me. I'm going to do me like in the way that makes me feel alive, wakes me up in the morning, gives me energy, where there's a vitality to my experience, and you give up on some kind of a role. And so there's a lot of giving up here, But the beauty is that like there's no amount of giving up that you can do that can cost you this love. You just can't ruin it by giving up. And so even though there's a lot of giving up that, you know, that causes this position of you need to let this, not you need to do anything. Like that's kind of what I love about your love story. The breakthrough and like that's going to happen for you, for you. And it's going to bring you home to yourself way before it brings somebody else like home to you. But that's kind of the path that we're seeing here. This love is a true love. It's a strong love. It's a powerful, like stable, comfortable, safe love. But you don't even believe in it. Like you're like, what is that? That's a unicorn. Like, what is this fantasy? Like, no, it isn't. So that's interesting. So Spirit's showing me, it's like, it's almost as if you're putting faith in things are bad. And that's a very strange sentence. I'm going to have to try and like tease that out a little bit. Spirit, what do you mean? So what I'm hearing is this fault line, this crack that happens. It's a result of years of having faith in disappointment because it's what you expect. And so it's like that expectation operates kind of like a faith that, this is kind of a belief system. Like I believe things won't happen for me in this way. I believe that this and that. And even though there's a huge veneer of like positivity and keeping yourself high vibe and all that, that's not to say that it is a veneer, but around this particular issue and what true love actually is, what is that? It's like what is that? It's your conviction that things can't be beautiful in this way is what shatters. And it kind of comes up against a little bit of resistance on your part because you're like, I don't want to believe in something that's going to be magical thinking. I don't want to believe in something that's going to lead me astray. And this is confounding to you because it's really beautiful. And it's a little bit different. Why is this different? Where's that deck? Here it is. I find out why this is so different. It exists in a liminal space. What the heck is that about? Let's find out. Because it leads you to a very cool new beginning that is like abundant love and like where all of your effort, and you put in a lot of effort, ends up paying off. So let me just take a look. Why is this? What is about this liminal space here? Show me. Oh, that was pretty quick. Ooh, yikes. Soulmate and death. Well, this is somebody who travels like in cycles with you, life after life after life after life after life. Let me just look at this for a moment. And this person comes into your life at a sort of rebirth kind of a place. This fault line is one of these like soul reckonings. It's positive, it's not one of these soul reckonings where you're like everything you hoped for, like dashed dreams, like horrible. No, this is one of these soul reckonings that's like, it's sort of like you didn't know what true desire was until now, and it's scaring you. That's what's coming through here. And so, this person comes into your life at a point of rebirth. And they are truly a soulmate. Now, soulmates, twin flames, like all of these terms can be used to like detriment. you know, it sort of tends to like put people into categories of like special people, and then it can be very like easy to sort of fixate as that is happiness, and that could be closing you off, right? And so why is Spirit bringing that through? Spirit's bringing that through to say that this is like nothing you've ever experienced before. That's the first thing. And the second thing is like, this is a true soulmate, instant familiarness. Like their presence is very potently something that you recognize as belonging, you know, like a part of a belonging, you know, belonging to each other in a certain way. You feel that like very intensely. And it kind of shatters this view that says like, this sort of fairy tale isn't real. And it's tricky because there's not really a fairy tale. It's that true love is extraordinarily safe and powerful. And that's not a fairy tale. That sits more like a truth. And so that's kind of the shift for you, is that like where you stop believing the fairy tale, there was almost a void on the other side. It's like there's no fairy tale and then there's a void. Whereas this love, as it comes in, is like, there's no fairy tale, there's something that's so much better. And it has authority and it has strength, and it's a beautiful thing. And so where you thought there was nothing but a void, there's actually this incredible thing. So I want to get a little bit on who this person is. Who is this person? Because this person is unique. That I can tell you. It feels like it in every way. This is someone who you've had a lot of lifetimes with. It's possible that this person knew you in childhood, but I don't know, it's coming through to me as like there was a life that you had spent really, really close, and quite in love with each other. And then there was another life that you spent together where you were like twins or something. Like there's a bond that's pretty like intense, actually, like really intense, beautiful love here. And so who is this person? Who is this person? Ooh. You definitely don't see this coming. You don't see this coming at all. You're not expecting this person to show up. And there's a lot in the way of, you don't see them trying to get your attention for kind of a while. Because you're very like, you're really in this space of surviving this fault line crack. It's strange because like, you're in a transitional space. You're in a rebirth kind of a space, like when this happened. So there has been a crack in the way that you perceive the world. So it's like a 3-phase kind of a thing that Spirit is showing me. Things didn't pan out as you'd expected. That's a reality crash right there. And then as you're putting yourself back together again, like now it's like rebuilt on like this, like almost like this independence that is just a little bit more independent than is healthy. It's so healthy to be independent, but this is kind of like a trauma response independence. And what confronts that is this incredible, this is an undeniable love. You can't even deny it to yourself. And again, like there's no amount of giving up that could cost you this love. So it's angelically guided. So this is somebody who's going to come into your life at a time when you don't see it coming. You're kind of distracted with trying to figure out how to rebuild your life with a new perspective. Because again, it's just like, this was kind of a internal tower, like an internal collapse of like expectation in so many ways. And there's a disappointment, there's like regret in there. And so you're sort of like coping with that related to, it seems like maybe another relationship when this is brought in as part of your healing process. And it can be trusted. You know, that's basically what Spirit is saying, like more than anything else, is this is somebody who feels like, it feels like you can trust them. And the reason it feels like you can trust them Why does it feel like you can trust them? Let's get a little bit on that. They inspire a totally new way of like taking on life in you. And that really changes things to the tune of, you haven't had a lot of reciprocity. You haven't had a feeling of like when you put the work out there, things come back the way that they're, you know, this idea that like things never come back the way you expect them to, or you don't get the rewards or the, like all of that, like this really challenges any of those negative beliefs that have taken that stronghold. You know, yeah, it's kind of hard to say, but that's sort of, but let me see, what is, Spirit, what do you want to bring through here? Two of Wands. What does that mean? The Queen of Swords. And the Hierophant. And the Five of Wands. This really comes about at a time where you're not feeling very good at all. So it's like a stable, trustworthy love. And, you know, why can you trust it? It isn't like prescribed. You know, this isn't a part, this is not a familiar love. Like, it takes you a while to figure it out. That's really interesting. Like, it takes you a really long time because you're in your head about it in the beginning and you're like, what am I looking at? Like, how do I move toward this? Or like, how am I planning my life around whatever this is? This is shaking me up, because it does shake you up, but it is outside of the structure of anything that you kind of perceive as like, this is way outside of your like personal structures, or your like the way, your framework, basically the way that like your life framework is, like the way you see things. Again, it confounds all of that. So this like operates like almost outside of the sphere of, it's like everything that you understand about the world is confounded by this connection. It's otherworldly. Boom. That's the best way to put it. It's really otherworldly. And what it provides for you, you know, and the, like advice from Spirit, like, you know, how does this provide for you? What can you expect from this in terms of what it provides? From, you know, there's a quality of leadership, again, with the Authority card here. What is that? It's kind of a new, it's fulfilling. I'm seeing you be kind of a trailblazer somehow. You know, this relationship is unique. It just is. You're both able to fulfill each other's needs. Yeah, you're both able to fulfill each other's need to like be the best, most like accomplished version of yourself as you can possibly be. And the way that this relationship works itself out is kind of like a new way forward. It's like a, yeah, like this is looking like blazing a trail. And what this relationship feels like is like a really, really, really unique, really, that's like so spiritual, right? But it's also like off the map, and you're not expecting it to come in. And so your true love story has a magical quality to it, a mystical quality to it as well. And this is a person who, again, you don't see this person coming. They're kind of trying to get your attention for a while before you pick up on it. And, you know, a few qualities about them real quick, because, you know, this is, it's very cryptic. Like, why are they so different? They're really different. They're really unique. So this person who you're, you know, this true love story is a very unique individual. They've done the work on themselves. And I'm drawn to the 11. It's the Queen Bee. 11 card always, like, that's a kind of a, how do I explain that? This is well, okay, there's a couple things. This is somebody who's like very much a counterpart. No tweets about it. They're very much your counterpart. But they're very abundant. And this is somebody who's able to, there's a lot of responsibilities that this person holds. They're sort of at the center of quite a bit. There's a lot that they orchestrate, and you charm them in a way that they've never met anyone like you. They've never, in the same way that like you meet this person, it's like, what is going on? They have a similar sort of response to you. Like they've never met anyone or seen anyone or experienced anyone quite so beautiful is what's coming through. It's astounding for them. And their response to this is, they treasure you. They really do. And you're not really used to being treasured. And so like, it's kind of, there's a little bit of friction there, but your true love story is one where like, this is somebody who observes you for a really long time. They watch you for a really long time. They study you for a really long time. They kind of try to make their way toward you. They're trying to get your attention. You're not really seeing them. This is a powerful person. And this is a person who really appreciates who you are. Yeah, they treasure you. That is what watching you has done, is they've treasured you. Think about you a lot. And so this person has you on the mind and like way longer than like, and before you know what I mean? Before you do. This is this liminal space. You know, you can see the sun and you can see the night in one space. And so this is like why you exist in this liminal space. Like, why is this there? Let me get some cards. I'm going a little long with this, but that's okay. Why do you exist in this liminal space, and what the heck does that mean? It's powerful. It's actually, you know, what it is with the authority here, like, this is such a powerful alchemy between you and this person. There's treasure, right? So, you know, this is the Queen of Swords, but I'm reading the little burb here because we also have the treasure over here. And, you know, ritual and ceremony can acquire all the treasures of heaven and earth. So this is this like, you know, this is new. Like, for lack of a better way of putting it, this is kind of a new approach. The liminal space is basically because the authority is that it's good. It doesn't need to prove anything. This is not a relationship that needs to prove anything. This is not a relationship that has to, you know, fit into a certain mold. It's that powerful. And that might sound like, oh, you know, like, that doesn't sound like a commitment, or like it's a little, no, it's so solid. Like, you know, the love is so solidly planted. You feel so confident in this, that your way of being in this relationship, even their way of being in this relationship, it's kind of new. But it's beautiful, and it sustains you, and it fulfills you, and it allows you to be your best self. And this is a person who treasures you, and that liminal space that you live in, you know, kind of that between two worlds. It's just like how much spiritual resonance there is to this relationship. It's very heavy with the spirituality. It's so spiritual. That's what I'm getting from this more than anything else, is that the weight of this relationship really resides in a spiritual kind of a sphere. It's grounded. You know, it does, you know, where is this? Where are you? Card. Yeah, this sort of, the reason why we see this kind of like landing on the Ace of Pentacles is because it's grounded, right? So, you know, it is something that you can trust. It is something, this is a partnership where someone helps you and they interact with you, and there's this, not codependence, but interdependence that's quite healthy. Like, there's all of that grounded stuff, but it's totally unique. It's not like a relationship that you've had before. And there's kind of a trailblazing quality to it. And I can't really get more than that because, again, like, I can only see as far as like this is a unique person. This is a uniquely like spiritually heavy relationship, but then there's no rules, right? That doesn't mean there's not like, there's structure around it to keep like everyone feeling emotionally safe, but I don't know. It's unique. You know, Spirit just keeps on like saying like it's a new thing. It's like a new kind of a relating. For you, it's totally new. And it's on the other side of like a break in what you think of reality and like how you conceive of reality. It's really cool. So pile number 1, you have like your true love story is truly magical. It's really like the dominant feeling here is that there's a spiritual quality to it, and the love is beautiful. So pile number 1, I love what happens here. Like, it's not really a straightforward kind of a description, because what we're being told here is that the way that you relate to each other is like something that you create together. It doesn't really exist yet, but it's very, very powerful. It's very safe, and it's really beautiful. So pile number 1, that is your true love story. So if that resonated, if that felt right, if that was enlightening, consider leaving a like, subscribe, or comment. Otherwise, it's always an honor to read for you, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, pile number 2, for those of you that chose the purple book with the mermaid on it, let's go ahead and start your reading. I'm going to begin by speeding up the shuffle. Okay, pile number 2. I don't know how many ways like Spirit can say like divine counterpart, because there's so much here. So on the bottom of the deck, we've got the Mirror, and then we have the Mirror again here, and we have divine masculine over here. So it's like there's a lot of ways in which this person is your counterpart. That's just the truth of it. And there's something so beautiful and transforming about the way that this comes together. So where do I even start? Because we have the ring, we've got the heart. What I'm seeing here is that this person is, you know, this is the 10 of Cups. So this is sort of like complete and total emotional fulfillment. With the 9 of Swords here, this isn't without its anxiety, that's for sure. And so I think, let me get more on this, because this is very interesting. It's almost like what I'm seeing here is that you overthink it. And this is so beautiful. There's nothing to worry about related to that. But it does seem that the way that this kind of starts up, you know, the way, like, this is such a perfect, such a kind of perfect match that you find yourself really overthinking it. But with the 6 of Swords in reverse and the 4 of Wands in reverse, there's a hesitance here in the beginning. There's a sense in which, like, you feel when this starts out that if you go towards this, that it's going to be chaotic, and that it's not necessarily going to, like, you know, it's like you have a certain way in which you want a relationship to come together and operate, and this is not quite that. Like, I'm going to get more clarifiers, because this is really interesting what happened. Like, there's something that happens over here that means that the beginning of this relationship, it's a little bit rocky. And I think it's probably because of the Mirror, you know, and like, oh my gosh, we have the 1 here too. So like, there's so much about the two of you that is similar. You recognize each other, like you recognize the other in the other, right? And you know, we have stillness, and we have action, and we have wonder. So this, like, this breaks you out of a rut. So when I see the Six of Swords in reverse, you know, with the Four of Wands in reverse, there's been a rut. You know, there's been this stillness that, yeah, you kind of do move towards chaos, like when you move towards this person, just enough. Because what this does is it actually reveals to you what like a true counterpart is. So with this pile, I think there's almost like a false counterpart that precedes this, because there's kind of an awakening about, you know, there's like a comfortable rut, and then there's an awakening of like, wait a minute, I do have a counterpart, and this is what they look like, and it's not really, like you can't deny like the power and the validity of this connection any more than they can. With the Knight of Swords, wait, is this the Knight? No, this is... With the Page of Swords, they really, and the King of Swords, okay, so they worship you in their, in private. They really worship you. Like there's almost like a worshipful quality towards the way that they feel about you with this. I mean, with this card kind of, it's a little bit pornographic, but it kind of shows sort of like what's coming through is that this is somebody who like really, this is someone who worships you, but they don't speak to you like that. They don't address you like that. They address you very like, oh, I don't want to say cold, but like, you know, like where they're coming from, they're calm, they're together, they're thoughtful. They do not give off the vibe, the interest vibe necessarily. Maybe a little bit, especially if you're super intuitive, like you might be picking up on it, but they're purposefully going out of their way to keep it cool. That has a lot to do with the fact that, there's some sticky stuff about the way that this starts off, but there's a hesitance going towards you because the passion is at an intensity level, at least for them, you know, the way that they react, you know, to they're attracted to you. And so they're a little bit weird around you. I think that's something that needs to be taken note of. They act a little weird because of the level of attraction. And so there's a hesitance on their part to like launch in this new direction initially because it's kind of overwhelming. And they don't know how to behave when they're not in complete control. And something about your presence and your energy makes them feel completely out of control. But that's also sort of what sparks things. So, you know, this person does, like, you meet them and you're like, wow, like you check all of the boxes and you are my wish fulfillment. And the way that I feel about you is like, I love it. But then you're like, I don't know, I'm in my head. Is this a thing? Is this not a thing? I don't understand. And they're not acting towards you, like with this King of Swords here. And like the way that they sort of like relate to you in their own private way is not transparent. So there's a lot of stressing that kind of happens like initially, because there's something chaotic. There's something about this. I'm going to get more cards on that. Like, why is this chaotic? Like, what's that about? It could be that there was a three, like, you know, on the bottom of the deck, we have that Three of Cups, but so there could be a sense in which there may have been some interference, but I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. Yeah. So what is this? It's chaotic because it's not really expressed. The offer doesn't seem to be made. That's weird. Something to do with the Three of Cups because we have that on the bottom of the deck again. So there's a problem here in the beginning. And it looks a little bit like a third-party problem. So there's a sense in which you may have like meet this person and you're like, oh, you're everything. And then they have to figure out their way out of a relationship, or you have to figure out your way out of a relationship that wasn't this. And like, you know, as soon as this becomes clear, like there's that other relationship. And so, you know, the energy sort of shifts around. So for some of you, it's going to be you that sees this as chaotic, because it's like, you're like, I can't offer my love. Like, I can't speak about this because there's something else, or it's them. It might, for many of you, it is them. For some of you, it's you. So let's just take a look and see. So that's like this chaotic sort of beginning. Both of you sort of see that you know, between the mirror, you know, the mirror and the, you know, divine masculine fertility. I mean, there's just so much here in the way of like, it cannot be denied this is your counterpart, and I see the same thing, but there's something sticky, either on your part or on their part, that needs to be taken care of, because this doesn't, no one really expects this passion to kick up the way that it does. And this is also why they're nervous about starting something here. So like the beginning is fraught with interference. Yeah, it's really, we got the Ten of Wands and the Six of Pentacles. Like, this is problematic in the beginning. But there's a progression here to note, to be aware of. Again, there's something with this Three of Cups situation. I mean, how many times are we going to shovel to the same spot, So, as this is beautiful. I mean, everything about this is beautiful to me, except where we begin. And where we begin, we have rockiness. And it's a huge burden, but there's a progression that is progressing. And I think that's the important part. This doesn't seem to stop short. It stalls pretty significantly over here, but it doesn't stop short. The pioneer in the light attribute is passion for doing and creating what has not been done before. This is a co-creation between the two of you that is, it's like very fueled by like daydreaming, connecting to each other's energy, moving in that direction. There's a lot that happens before something happens, is what I'm seeing here. Now, with the mother, the shadow attribute is what is like kind of tugging at me, so I'm going to read that. Smothering or abandoning children, instilling guilt in children for becoming independent. So there's something about this relationship when it starts that's not being nurtured. So, often when I think of like a relationship, so Spirit's showing me what, as above, so below, like spiritual and then biological. I mean, there's always like a balancing point. And, or like not balancing point's the wrong way of putting it, but like for everything physical, there's something spiritual in sort of a way. And it's not a hard, fast rule, but I'm trying to distill something super complicated into like an easy to understand bite-sized point. And so what Spirit is showing me is that, when you take two energies and you combine them, like from like if we're looking at biology alone, and we shouldn't, but we are at the moment, there's a zygote that is formed. The zygote is a fetus. It's like at the very beginning of a fetus is a zygote. And so, two energies combine into one, and then they, through the lifespan, of this creation that they create together outside of each other, right? Person, the love that they create. And again, it's being shown to me like a baby, probably not surprising because I'm seeing the fertility card here. When both partners nurture their growth, it grows. When one partner doesn't and the other partner does, there's an imbalance in the growth of the thing that you create between you. Like, you have to nurture the love, right? So what I'm being shown, that's a long explanation, I hope it made sense. What I'm being shown here is that initially there's no nurturing of this, there's no taking care of it. There's a sort of way in which this is born, and then like it has to sit for a while. So that's what's coming through. That's a little weird, and with the divine masculine and fertility, this is almost feeling like divine masculine, divine feminine to me in terms of like the energy. But I'm going to read the fertility card here. The frequency of fertility invites us to be more open, more courageous, more creative, and more joyful than we were before. It activates the potential for something beautiful to grow from our unconscious into a new and grander expression of ourselves. Yeah, see, like, I'm seeing a thing like there's something here with a third party. But it's not a problem. I mean, initially it is, because it causes all kind of confusion and stress, but ultimately, it's not. Ultimately, like, this is supposed to come together, and it will, and it does. There's a lot of like spiritual and like emotional nurturing that happens, like absent of the connection that like fuels the connection, sort of moving through this phase where things have to be adjusted in this person's life or in your life in order for you guys to come together. And while that's happening, there's not a lot of nurturing of like what you've created or what sparked between you, or the life that like is, there's like, I almost see it like the love as coming forth like a life, right? Yeah. And so there's a lot that triggers you about this person in the beginning, with the mirror, who or what is triggering you, and there's a lot that triggers them, you know, in the beginning. It pulls you out of a rut, and it causes kind of an amazing breakthrough here. So with stillness and action, like these are diametrically opposite energies in many ways. Not diametrically opposite, but they're not this. They're clearly opposite ends of the spectrum. This propels you into action from a place of total stillness. So there's like a quickness to when the uptake actually, you know, the uptake is quick. I'm gonna get more cards on this because what is this action? What's happening here? You might work together initially. I'm seeing that. So let me just see. What is this stillness, action, wonders combination of cards here? What is that? Stop. Got the Hierophant and the Knight of Swords. I think this is, yeah, because this is looking very third party to me with this card. These cards are a little bit pornographic. I'm sorry, you know what it is? Whenever I'm doing love readings, I like to use them, the detail, and like what they bring through is like, you know, the way that they feel is great, but like for the camera, they're not awesome because I can't really hold them up without offending maybe somebody. So with the Queen of Swords here, yeah, I think, you know, it's not going to resonate for everybody, but it looks like the action that is taken is to move out of this third-party situation, and it's very head over heart. You know, whoever this individual is or whoever you are, this person comes in, like they trigger you because this is not where you are or not where they are, and then there's this like there's a struggle in getting together here, and it takes a lot of thinking over feeling, and the action taken is to move out of that. So, you know, what is that? Well, you know, it goes from like the stillness of not moving, you know, there's a stagnance right here into like action by way of like, well, this is real and this is too important and I'm not going to F it up. I'm going to get out of this third party situation because this is worth it, you know, and that's where the wonders come in. Because it went from being like what relationships always are or how they're supposed to be or what they look like to like, no, this is what a relationship actually is. And so when we see the heart here and the ring, this love between the two of you is so above and beyond what both of you have experienced in the past that it does very quickly become like a lifetime commitment. It hits at a level of, it hits at a depth in the heart. Depth seeks depth. So it's like your depth of love and the amount of love that you have to offer and the deep, yeah, the depth with which you love, this person loves. There's mirroring here, absolutely. And so there's immediately, you know, upon breakthrough, you know, what I'm being shown here is like, the stillness is like, this is held in stasis for a little while, which is like weird to me because of the intensity of like, this is so obviously counterparts that have always been meant together, you know, meant to be together. And you probably have that feeling, you know, when you meet this person. But, you know, with this breakthrough is just like this complete and total acknowledgement that like, this is where the heart is, you know, this is the depth of my love meets the depth of your love. And this is a commitment. It's already there. So there's a very interesting shift that happens. And it doesn't necessarily like, this is not what I would like if I was sitting, you know, in a room, like trying to like, you know, what's a healthy like way that things start, happen and go. I would not necessarily say that that's this, but when I look at fertility, divine masculine, the ring, the heart, the mirroring, it is a transformation, you know, and the bottom of the deck over here, we have the transformation card. And so like, there's a lot in your lives, both of you in your lives, that has to transform to accommodate this. This is like recognized and then life has to accommodate it. So there's a real stillness like in the build up towards like this becoming a thing, because there's probably a marriage here. There's definitely something to do with a third party, and it has to kind of work itself out, but action is taken to work itself out. And so while I never think of it as being healthy to like jump from one relationship to another, this love story, it almost seems like they or you are like, no, I see true love and it's not what I have or what I've had, and I have to make adjustments in my life to accommodate this. So that's kind of where the bumpiness is here. I want to read the Divine Masculine card. It says, the frequency of Divine Masculine supports our strong, focused, and active side, allowing it to express itself while helping us to bring our dreams and ideas into form with kindness and wisdom. Yeah, this is a situation where, like, in order to bring this together, it has to happen with kindness and wisdom, so it can't happen at light speed. Let me just find out how the communication is, though. It's like, this is tolerable if there's good communication. If there's not good communication, I see how this would be really hard in the beginning, so let me just look into that. So let's just look at the communication here. Spirit, what's the deal with the communication here? Because without communication, this is kind of difficult. Let's take a look and see what we have here. Spirit is saying, like, it just is this way. Spirit is saying, like, the way that this love comes into play and comes into, it just is. Like, this is just how it happens. So, you know, is it ideal that this is how it happens? The lessons that you have to teach each other, you know, the way in which, like, this is supposed to, I'm seeing, like, the root chakra for some reason. There's a lot of passion here, and so it's like, how do you manage it, right? The communication is, let's see, I need more than that. You know, it's 6 of Wands, but I need more. That means that the communication is good. Nope. Weird. Okay, let's see. Huh. So there's an adjustment that is required for things to turn around in such a way where the communication becomes good. You know, what's being shown to me here is that the potential for the communication to be amazing, like the communication will be amazing. That's 6 of Wands. It's a victory card. It's like, excellent. High Priestess, though, is keeping things quiet and with a very strong inner knowing. And then the 5 of Pentacles in reverse. This is the adjustment that needs to be made. You know, this, unfortunately, someone has to abandon, well, I don't want to use the word abandon, but yeah. When this all comes together, something that wasn't meant to be, something that wasn't in alignment, something that was meant to let go, there's like an active, like, leaving something behind that has to happen that is really difficult. Not because of the attachment to, you know, the feeling, you know, of love with the other person. Like, that's not really what it is. It's sort of like, how do I get out of the life that I've built now that I know that the life that I've built was built on a bad foundation? Because it's apparent, yeah, I'm like channeling this person. You know, it's apparent to them that whatever it is that you are, like, and, you know, well, no, not whatever it is, what you are to them is real. What everything else ends up feeling like in their life is not real. And so there's massive adjustments that have to take place. So yeah, in the beginning, the communication is going to be good and not. Does that mean, like, you wait and you pine and you, like, plan your life around this person's, like, you know, you're not going to have to, because this is going to happen kind of like without a whole lot of confusion. But, you know, it like wrecks, like, the structure, the control, like, you know, it's a lot of change and upheaval that makes it possible to come together. So it's kind of, it's racy. You know, this is a racy sort of a feeling with this energy. There's this, like, oh my God, I love this person. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. This 9 of Cups and this strength, like, holy crap, I love this person more than, this is my wish fulfillment with the 9 of Cups. Like, how do I endure to get out of my situation and into a situation that accommodates this relationship? Because this is where I want to be. This is everything I wanted. This is, like, the way I want, you know, things to happen for me. Like 3 of Wands again, like, this is an equal and this is a counterpart. And so that there's been some kind of stuff between you, there's strength, you know, that is required in order to bring this into fruition. Because with the 5 of Cups in reverse, like, there has to be a willingness to let go. And there does seem to be very much, you know, the way that the love story sort of, like, introduces itself and unfolds is, it gets there. It's just a little bit weird in the beginning. So what I want to look at here is advice from Spirit for you about this connection, because it's beautiful. Let's just be clear. this is a counterpart, you know, the depth of your love meets the depth of their love, and like it's an instant like commitment to the other. Like there's like creation, that like the co-creation like builds creation, there's fertility, you know, and then but there's a balance and there's a way in which this has to come together that is a bit challenging. So your love story has a bit of a challenging beginning, but where it's going, you know, what Spirit is saying about where it's going, because there has to be a detangling here. And again, it's either you or them, and I can't tell which one it is, especially from like where I'm sitting, because it seems like one of you was with a false counterpart. So you might be with someone or being fixated on someone that you think is the one, and then this person comes along when that works out or something, you know, or vice versa. Like they may have someone in their life that they've chosen that seems like does the job and is like the right kind of a, you know, for a certain time, but then as things go on, you know, it's not meant to be, and therefore there's all of that kind of in the mix. So, and it could be for both of you too, but it's like there's a lot that has to be adjusted to make way for this, but it's immediately apparent that this is where it's going, and this is what feels right. Majesty and virtue. The lily is the emblem rare of many virtues, good and rare. You know, that you recognize how rare this is. You recognize like what a once in a lifetime, you know, experience this is. He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe. So there's a sense in which like you understand, and they understand like the work needs to be done in order to make this possible, because there's no walking away from it. And so like Spirit's advice is very much, you know, you both recognize this. There has to be some communication, and I believe that there really is. Not in the very beginning. There's strategy here, and that's sort of why. But, you know, but going forward, like the communication definitely improves. That's the thing. It's just, this is a process, true love story, a little bit. Let's see. What is this, Spirit? What do I say about this? Yeah. So it does require, like this true love story, pile number 2, it requires a decision to leave someone who's not right. Like, actually, it's funny because like this book is actually The Little Mermaid. And as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking like, wait a minute, like that's a movie where the prince thinks that he has his counterpart because he recognizes the voice, but it's a stolen voice. But then when he meets her, there's like a rocky beginning because they can't really talk about it. And then like once like the kiss happens or whatever it is, like this is very much what's going on here. Like there's a lot of that. But there's, you know, once like this is, it initiates a kind of freedom. You know, there is a need to like pass through, you know, a period of like things are really difficult, because I don't, you know, there's a navigating forward, and there's like, I have to kind of like move through this gate. The other stuff has to go in order to make room for this. But with that effort, you do have this delight, and this relationship ends up having tremendous staying power, you know, in terms of like intimacy and conversation. Like it's a counterpart. When it works out beautifully. It's working its way towards that. And when you meet this person, there's a lot of like, this is too good to be true. There's a lot of problems. Like, I don't know what to do, but it hits its stride. You know, Spirit's saying you can expect them to work really, really hard, and same with you, in order to make this happen. So group number 2 is an interesting love story, but it leads home. You know, look at this, the heart and the ring and wonders and power and delight. It gets there. Fertility, a little bit of a rocky beginning. Okay, pile 2, that is your reading. Hopefully that was helpful, and I'll see you again soon. All right, for those of you that chose group number 3, the blue book with the shoe on it, let's go ahead and begin the shuffle. I'm going to speed it up. Okay, group number 3, there's a lot going on here. This is so interesting to me because your love story starts from kind of a place of, this is something you manifest, like very clearly, this is something that you manifest. And it's something that the person in question manifests as well. There's a lot here, though, that needs to be examined just a little bit, because the way that this person they encounter you, and they like delight in like how you have like an avant-garde, like the way that you've created your life, the way that you've created yourself. They love what you've made. They love the way you express yourself, and they love the way that you they're like really into, they're your biggest fan. I guess that's the way I should put it. You know, this person is your biggest fan. Whatever you create, whatever you make, it might just be like the way you create your life. They are a huge fan. They really admire your life's work, the work you do on yourself, and how you become you and present to the world. They love this. And so when this relationship comes together, it holds a lot of, how do I put this? Because it's a really interesting concept that's coming through. The way that this person relates to you and the way that you relate to them is much bigger than what is initially expressed. But what is initially expressed is totally sufficient in terms of, like, I'm seeing like a poetry, and poetry is like partial language. So you have a poem, and it's not like everything is spelled out like in sentences and in paragraphs. Like, it's not that clear. It's a poem that packs a lot of meaning in like 2 stanzas, and it's an open, like, partial language. So what is being shown to me about your love story is that the intensity and the resonance and the meaning, and meaning is a really important like word here. You know, this is part of your purpose, and this is part of, you know, and there's a meaning making faculty to the way that this person, you know, when they see you and the way that you are and what you create, like, and the way you make meaning of things, this is something that they identify with. Not only that I identify with it, they admire it tremendously. And so when you come together, it's kind of like, it's sort of, you know, it rings like a perfectly constructed poem where, you know, you're not complete, you know, your partial language, you're packing all this meaning and this purpose and this beauty, but it's not like totally like spelled out, you know, like it's not, nothing dry about the two of you coming together. And then, you know, they meet you in this space of appreciation for how you are, what you do, and the way you do it, the way that you put language to things. Like, they just appreciate the art of you, and you appreciate the art of them. So there's like this artistic quality to this union that I really like, where there's so much that doesn't need to be spoken, because the appreciation for what is on display is so profound that there's just a very known, like, established sense that yeah, this works in almost like a mystical kind of a way. Now, with the pioneer and the shadow aspect and the victim in the shadow aspect, I'm going to just read them. The victim in the shadow aspect is playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity, inability to maintain personal boundaries, and with the pioneer, we have a compulsive need to keep moving on. So that sounds really harsh, but how I see this, you know, what Spirit is showing me related to this is that there's almost been a sense of like the healing has gone on. I've been healing forever. I've been on my healing journey for as long as I can remember, and it almost seems like a permanent state for, you know, to a certain degree. So, like, you know, when this comes about, you know, this compulsive need to move on, it's, you know, it's almost like things have just been disappointing and you have to move on, and disappointing, because you're not going to settle, which is perfect, because if you settled, you wouldn't have this. So it's really important that you don't settle. But there's a sense in which, you know, there's this feeling of, is this as good as it gets, you know, when this comes together, when this sort of comes online. The reason I see such a component of you manifesting this is because, like, it is something that you create. You create a space for it. You create a life, like, for this to, like, like, it's sort of like with this poet card, all of the creating that you're doing related to your own life, all of the creative energy that is going into the way you present yourself, the way you speak, there's so much creative stuff going on. You may not realize that, like, this is where, like, the healing has gone on and on and on and on. And you might not realize that the healing is producing something, but it is, and it's creating like very fertile ground for this when this person comes into your life, they're just like, holy crap, like, you're real, you exist, like, you're perfect in this constructed way that, like, I appreciate every aspect of. Even, like, I'm seeing even, like, where, like, no one's perfect, there's flaws, but your flaws are even, like, artistically appealing to this person, because it's just like all of the parts of your personality, like the way that everything kind of fits together. It's like what I'm feeling, what Spirit is showing me is like when I don't know if you've ever, like, walked up, in a museum, you, like, walk up on a piece of art, or, like, you're listening to something and there's, like, a piece of music that, like, absolutely, like, moves you out of wherever you are into, like, another realm. Like a movie where you forget that you're sitting there because it's so engrossing. Like, this is the way this person responds to you. And it's interesting because you don't see yourself in that light. The belief that you have in your prosperity, like, all that stuff, like, somehow, like, you can see the building of life meaning something and, like, the purpose, but you call this in by being so ready for it. And the same creative energy that goes into your, everything, you're manifesting that person who is going to see you clearly and appreciate you clearly. And here it is. And so much of this is the belief. Let me just see something here. I need a couple more cards. I want to get a better, I want to see a little bit about what that is. A little bit more about what that is, because what I'm being shown here is that, like, there's never been a place for you to land, but all of the strength that has been, like, accumulated in learning to fly and the freedom therein, like, that's oddly how this becomes such a magnificent union. I don't know. Let's find out a little bit more. Yeah, see the King of Swords here. The heart chakra is kind of an issue, and I want to look at that for a second. Yeah, Ten of Swords in reverse. So there have been so many disappointments, and just a level of So yeah, with the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, this is just failed relationship after failed relationship, where you're just, like, not settling, and you're moving on and you're moving on, and there's, like, not really a good place for you to land, because when you're not being perceived the way you want to be perceived, and you have a predestined, you have an appointment with fate related to being perceived correctly and in this way. And until somebody does that, you're going to be like, reject, 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 or vice versa, where rejection is God's protection. Because I'm seeing that here with the protection card. There may have been a lot of really disappointing relationships. I'm seeing that with the Ten of Swords in reverse, where you've had to, you've seen a lot of really terrible endings that have felt like horrible betrayals, and you had to sort of pull yourself out of it into, a stoic sort of a space. And where you're not planning on finding this kind of love, with all of these, pulling all those swords out of you, you're just like, you know what, I'm not planning in this direction anymore. I'm taking the stoic approach. However, there's always been this belief, and this is an underlying belief that you haven't really let go of, that you do have a person, because you do. There's a date with fate. And deep inside, that there's that right person that's fated, which is why everybody who isn't up to par is either going to be a rejection that you experience or somebody you reject right away. Because you're very much meant for this kind of recognition. With the belief card, let me read this to you. The frequency of belief supports our sense of self-worth based on our gifts and talents and a strong connection to source. I love this. This really hits the spot in the sense that you're not settling. Your belief in your own self-worth, and this is, it takes a while to get here. Listen, all of these swords, pulling every sword out, all those 10 swords, gives you it's a lot of work to get that sense of self-worth, like, online, so that you you aren't actually searching. And that's not a giving up. That's not a bad thing. You know, when you stop making everything, like when you stop making your path forward about finding someone that will complement it and just make your path forward about your path forward, because that's sort of what I'm seeing here. I want to see a little bit more on that though, actually. I just want to get a couple of more cards on this too. Or maybe just one or two more cards on this too. Wands in reverse. Yeah, so it's, you know, your sense of self-worth means that you hold out for this. And there might be like a lot of disappointments leading up to it, whether, you know, it's other people or you, like not liking other people. There may be a lot of disappointments that lead up to, you know, I'm not going to settle for less. I know my self-worth, and I'm not going to play with anything, you know, that is going to diminish like what I already know is my value. Like that is what brings this prosperity, because this other person sees that stuff, like that worth. Absolutely. And then they reflect that worth back to you, and you're like, ah, this is going to work. Now this will work, because it's not a situation where I'm trying to sell myself, or it's not a situation where they're trying to sell themselves. It's like, this is a thing that really clicks for you. But the reason that it clicks for you is because you don't give up on your self-worth for a minute with any of these other relationships that aren't supposed to be. And so that appreciation, again, like you have to put a lot of work into this. You are, you know, you do. And it does have you moving, you know, it has you like doing things and like moving on and moving on and moving on, but it really is building somewhere. And where it's building is that there's a poem that is like, I'm just trying to like catch it, you know, and it's I carry your heart with me, and I don't know what it is, just probably have to look it up, but what the heck is that? I wish I could get like a firmer, let's just listen to the guides. Yeah, there's a way in which this person, like you carry your heart, they carry your heart with, I don't know. I'm going to put it in the comments if I can figure out what it is, but you're carrying your heart, and you are like valuing yourself at this point, really valuing yourself correctly. You're pulling out all those swords, you're knowing who you are, and you're knowing like what works for you and what doesn't. And in the same way, like it's just, you know, by carrying your heart and by like holding on to it, not giving it out like willy-nilly, you know, this other person's carrying, yeah, like I don't know how to say this other than like they carry your heart with them. And so when they come, and you carry their, I don't know, there's this beautiful way in which I can't find language for what I'm looking at. If you know what poem I'm talking about, you carry your heart with you. I carry my heart with you. If you can comment down below, because I actually only have, I see like one line. But there's this beauty in the way in which you have space. That's what it is. Like I carry your heart. You have space for each other. In their life, they have space for you. In your life, you have space for them. And the belief that got you to this place is a belief in yourself and your own self-worth. And you might not know this right now. You might be sitting in a place where you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just keep on getting my butt kicked, you know, because I'm like yearning for something and it's not, and I don't, like, what do you mean? So Spirit's sort of acknowledging that this is sort of part of what brings you to this person is you stop trying to work it out with people who aren't seeing your value. So it kind of comes at a little bit of a price. But the payoff is tremendous. You know, the payoff is that on the other side of all of this conflict, there's so much prosperity. You know, this comes together. It's protected. It's a protected union. But when this comes together, I'm going to read this. The frequency of prosperity supports our feeling of well-being by allowing the inclusion of everything that makes our body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit sing. It invites us to express ourselves in joy and celebration of the abundance and riches that the universe provides. So there's this like moment where it's like, I'm good enough. I'm more than good enough. You know, I'm going to galvanize my body, my mind, my heart, my soul into this stuff that makes my spirit sing. And I'm going to focus on that, and I'm going to invest on that. So there's this shift that takes place in your understanding. And until that shift takes place, you're being protected. You know, with this warrior woman, have you answered your deepest calling? This is something that you know way deep inside that you have been destined for, that you've been destined for a kind of very superior sort of love. Let me just grab this one more card. With the King of Cups here, it's an incredibly deep love as well. Like, so you both really know, you know, you have to sort of, not you have to, but there's a sense in which you get to this Nine of Pentacles place. You arrive at this Nine of Pentacles place. This Nine of Pentacles place is, I have everything I need. I have more than I need. I've got all 9 pentacles. There's 10 pentacles, like in, you know, to be had, basically. And you're held in high esteem. You like your life. You like who you've created yourself to be. You're in a place of independence. You're in a place of success right here. And so all that is to say, like, from that place of success, I'm shown that there's like the spirit here, right? There's a haunting. There's a haunting quality to the way in which you know that this person exists for you and that they know that you exist for them. There's a haunting to it. And so, and that it's a deep love, right? Because that recognition hits and it's like, oh, I'm home, right? That's what I'm seeing. So, you know, when you step into the space of the Nine of Pentacles here, there's still this deep calling for, like, your soul's calling out for your soul elsewhere, and, you know, in this union, and honoring that. So Spirit is saying that, you know, there's something that you want deeply and that you know is supposed to be yours. And there's going to be a protection around that, where you're appreciated and who is appreciating you, vice versa. There's a protection around the right kind of union, which means nothing else is going to really work. There's a haunting for both of you, like, that is going to bring you together. You can't really mess this up. That's the beauty here. Let's see what this is. So with the approach, there's a tentative approach that rapidly, you know, so you have the Page of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles here. So what starts out as kind of a cautious approach towards you, and it's basically, there's like nervousness, which is interesting, ends up very quickly becoming like, you're my home, I'm your home, like, let's establish this together. You know, us together creates this very cool thing you're creative with this person. That's what I'm seeing. You're super creative with this person, and they're like, I'm investing in this relationship as much as I'd invest in anything, because of not only like emotional fulfillment that it will yield, but kind of like the life fulfillment that it will yield. They really love the way you are. You are constantly enthralling to them. There's even like an infatuation quality that never really goes away, which is kind of beautiful. With the Magician here and the Ace of Wands, there's a little bit of an effort put into presenting the passionate side of things. They don't immediately come off all hot and bothered, because it does start as like a genuine interest in the way that you are and create. And so it's like, wow, hey, it's good to meet you. Like, and then there's talking and it clicks and it's like pop, 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 like a ping pong match that the ball never drops in the way that the conversation flows. So there's a sense in which they're galvanizing like all of the different tools that they've been able to accumulate through life to sort of put this together in a way. And you're participating in this. There's a co-creation going on where the passionate new beginning, you know, it starts kind of controlled because it's actively being created. It's something that you create between the two of you, kind of together. Yeah, with Three of Pentacles, you make stuff together. With the Ace of Swords in reverse, again, like there's a little bit of rockiness around how to get this off the ground in a way that acknowledges like the value almost. Like, this is not like other relationships. You know this, they know this. This is not, you know, this is not like, how do I explain that, Spirit? Let's get a couple more cards because I get like stuck. What is that? The way that this relationship operates in the beginning is like almost a best friend kind of a vibe. I hate to say it, but it's not for lack of like sexual interest. It's because they like the creative chemistry is so incredible that it's like, oh, I better not mess this up. Like, I don't want to, you know, screw this up with something silly. This is something that someone is like, there's active manifestation, and there's a lot of passion, but it's being managed in the beginning. And I think there's something to do with work here. So let me just get a sense here, because you got the Three of Pentacles. And so there's almost like an unacknowledged romantic interest in the beginning because of the work, whatever work it is that you create together. Yeah, so like the new beginning has a lot to do with what you're creating. You know, you're trying, there's a balance here between, that's interesting. Let me see something. So this begins like almost, you basically just like know that this is the person who you want to work with. And then at a certain point, you know that this person is the person you want to work with from your heart too. The Magician. Yeah, the two of you are incredible. You're both manifesting this. And with the Ten of Cups here and the Knight of Wands, like, and the Emperor and the Two of Cups and the Six of Swords and the Six of Pentacles, you know, you don't walk away from each other. This has a smooth kind of a takeoff. But it does kind of start with work, and the two of you really, really manifest each other, and there's a controlled beginning, because this is not something that you're able to, you work together. This looks like you work together to me. That's what I'm feeling. That you meet this person like through some kind of a creative endeavor, something that you both want to create. And so there's not like an immediate, like, let's jump into like a heavy romance. That's why it's like the King of Pentacles here. It's like, it's a very charted path, but it is a totally new beginning, again, that you're both manifesting. And so you create this, you create with them. I see that so clearly, that you create with them. So there's like this interesting dance. I think it's a professional issue, quite frankly. It like kind of just looks like, I don't want to, you know, cross any lines, you know, is sort of what I'm seeing on both ends. But you've both manifested a creative partner in addition to a romantic partner. And so that little dance that has to go on is just like, how do we, it seems like it sustains to a point where you're creating stuff together. There's not a doubt there with me. I can see that very clearly. But in terms of how you go forward, this is not coming into, here, let me get a couple more cards. You know, it really is like ultimate fulfillment. It's a gift of love from the divine, but how do you get it off the ground? It has a lot to do with not like crossing professional boundaries. So there's just something that you're working on here that you're just like, I don't want to screw up the thing I'm making with this person, but damn. Yeah, it's like the love, the catch and feeling is like, that happens real strong, but neither person really wants to transgress like any professional boundaries. And so the project might have to wrap up before you can sort of jump into a new thing, like whatever that project is. It can be something as simple as, well, I don't know, it's going to be different for everybody. It's a collective reading, but let me just see. Yeah. There's so much passion here. Oh my gosh, look at all these wands. But there is a level of restraint that is needed. Okay, so there's a level of restraint in the beginning because of the creative stuff. But, yeah, back to Two of Swords. Well, let's ask Spirit what's going on. Because, like, this comes together. You know, and this is your true love story. But there's this period of time where there's a need to sort of, like, be professional. Even though, and there's a sneakiness. Oh, I see. This is cute. I like this. I'd hold the cards up, but these cards are a little bit pornographic. And the reason that is because that's just the nature of the cards. It's the Tarot of Sexual Magic. But I love them for love readings because I see like an immense amount of detail. So, yeah, this starts as a sexual relationship in secret. You have to hide it, right? So what I'm seeing here is that in the beginning, and it's not for like cheating reasons or anything like that, but in the beginning, the two of you really do decide that the way that you're going to move forward is not telling anyone because there's too much work between the two of you. You guys work together. You guys creating something together. There's a professional thing that happens here where like the romantic stuff happens. Yeah, the companion card in secret. So initially, like the beginning is you both very creative, very artistic. You fall in love with each other's like way of creating and being, and how you've like become yourself and vice versa. You're working on something together, and there's professional sort of boundaries that you want to respect, especially, you know, because you work so well together, because this is, again, it's a creative relationship. So it's like, in addition to being a partnership, it's a partnership with what you're making. And so it starts off where there's a lot of passion and there's a lot of physical interaction that is like real hot and steamy, but you're not going to be telling anyone until until which time it makes sense professionally. Yeah. But you both are such companions, and there's no two ways about it. You're both such companions. You both work really hard, and yeah, they don't want it to be a situation, nor do you, where it's like, where the sexual component messes up anything creative, and it doesn't have to. You know, with the wounded child on the bottom of the deck, awakens compassion and desire to serve other wounded children, opens the learning path of forgiveness. So like, there's a sense in which the spirit is really showing me, you know, the fact that this kind of has to start off in a way where you don't want to like upset professional boundaries, so you kind of do it all on the sly. That allows the growth to happen in a way that it actually adds to the romance, and it adds to the love story, that there is a secretive element that's just between the two of you, that just you two have, that doesn't have anything to do with like, you know, external transgressions aside from wanting to be professional. And so that group number, wow, I thought I put that on 3. What was that? I don't know, the dice just surprised me. That group number 3 is your love story. This is a beautiful, creative, artistic union that's very protected, that you know, you have a deep sense that this is meant for you, that you have like this longing within you. It's supposed to be there because the need is supposed to be met. And there's a haunting for both of you. And when you see each other, you know, their reaction to you is like, you are the most magnificent work of art I have ever encountered. And you kind of feel that way about them too. But it looks like, and you manifest each other, but it really does look like, for professional reasons, starts off kind of like nobody knows. And that's a healthy start for it, because it leaves it just like the two of you, you know, building together, until which time you know, come forth and say, hey, this is what we've been doing, or you feel comfortable with that. It starts off just the two of you and not a lot of people else involved. So let me just get a quick piece of advice from Spirit for you before we close out. But what I'm seeing here is just like this beautiful coming together of two very creative people who are meant to create together in lots of different ways. And this does seem to come together through work. Yeah, there's a need for patience right now. This keeps on coming up. I mean, all of these piles, man, I have been seeing some, because you know what it is, this collective is kind of trailblazers. So other piles have, this card just keeps on coming out. And there's a path forward. And there's a way in which this is meant to transform the way that you see relationships, just generally speaking. There's a flow to this. It's not a difficult process. It's kind of like, you know, the patience that's needed right now is just, where are you? You know, where are you in your life right now? Like, are you at this point where you're entering into this 9 of Pentacles, full expression of yourself? Because that's where this is born of. And it's meant to be. Domestic happiness and devoted affection. I will wind thee in my arms, so doth the woodbine and honeysuckle gently entwist. That's Shakespeare. That's not clear to me, but basically what I'm seeing here is, like the quote itself is like a little bit, determination and creative achievement. Yeah, this is a creative coupling. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Maya Angelou. So this is a match made in creative heaven, is basically what I'm looking at. And it's handled really carefully. And the patience is just in getting there, because it's meant for you, and it is there. So group number 3, like, I love this. It comes together really beautifully. This is domestic happiness and bliss, but there's this, I love this little part of your early relationship where in deference to like art projects that you're both involved with, you have like this secret, beautiful, cherished like treasure of like time together that's just like secretly yours. I love it. I really do. All right, pile number 3, that is your reading, and I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you again soon.